Gives us the first tangible sense of what it was like for these American government workers in Havana who were hearing these unexplained sounds in their residences and later developed physical symptoms. Americans who heard these sounds in Havana have described slightly different sounds, and even in some of the recordings that the AP has reviewed, there are slight variations. However, this high-pitched cricket sound seems to appear in all of them. The U.S. Embassy in Havana has played these recordings for Americans who are working there so they know what to listen to. These recordings have also been reviewed by people who heard the sounds firsthand in Cuba, and they confirm that the recordings are generally consistent with what they heard. We still don't know what is causing the sound, and the recordings don't appear to have significantly furthered the investigation. Even with the recordings being analyzed, the U.S. government still says it has been unable to determine what is causing the sound.
You won't be hearing it, but of course it is going into your system. It's like a, acoustic hammer which is hitting you. You're just not able to hear it because its frequency is much higher. So there were some concerns to it, and if it is really, really high, it could create some, what we call as a bioeffects.
It's possible that what we're hearing on the recording is actually only part of the picture. Traditional recording devices are only able to pick up certain types of frequencies, such as the ones that the human ear can hear. It's possible there are additional frequencies, possibly those too low or too high to be picked up, that are also happening when these attacks occur.
Robert, first question. What does LRAD stand for?
Long-Range Acoustic Device.
Robert Putnam with LRAD Corporation gives the lowdown on this piece of popular yet contentious technology.
With the Long-Range Acoustic Device systems, we're able to project voice messages and alarm tones up to distances over to 2 miles. It stays focused in a 30 to 60 degree beam, and by allowing us to do that, the people at the other end absolutely understand the instructions that are being given them, and we can give them the instructions in any language. We have a highly intelligible, very robust product now that's being sold throughout the world to militaries, commercial security, maritime security, and then also for wildlife protection and control. And for law enforcement, they appreciate having a device that really works for communication. Bullhorns just don't cut it. In large outdoor situations, especially.
So I could immediately hear its effectiveness.
This is a test of the long-range acoustic device LRAD. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right, guys, I have to say I'm a little worried walking up here like you're gonna sneak in and turn it back on. Scott, you were the operator on that one.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Right off the bat, first impression, I felt like there was a dude standing right here yelling in my ear, but it was really clear.
Here you have the back of the head unit where all the electronics are housed. You got the power switch you turn on. Power is activated by the control unit, which you have an on-off position.
Right.
This is a standard MP3 player, so you can put whatever test files or any kind of audio media
Really?
on this
Okay,
MP3
okay.
player.
You will be given food, water, and medical attention.
Because it can broadcast effectively up to 2 miles away and very powerfully, you can mount that on helicopters, fly over and be able to broadcast messages to hopefully the people that you're trying to find. Cover a lot of area quickly rather than putting, in some cases, hundreds of people on the ground
Right.
in the bushes trying to find people. And then for suicide situations from bridges or buildings, fire departments and high-rise situations.
It can also be used more in a bit of an offensive or a defensive manner. Well, how does that work for that?
Well, I think you're referring to our alarm tone capability of this. So that's what's gotten most of the interest from people out there
Right.
on the other side. We really don't look at this as any kind of a weapon, non-lethal or otherwise.
And though reluctant to speak on camera, law enforcement officials stand behind LRAD.
The alarm tone is mostly used, especially in law enforcement applications, especially when protests get out of control or you get large crowds. And with LRAD, that fills that critical gap between bullhorns and rubber bullets.
But many groups, including the ACLU, have issues with LRAD.
I think LRAD has no place at public events and forums, especially ones that any free speech expression activity is too intimidating, it's too scary, and so chills speech that we want to encourage in a democracy.
Are these machines causing any harmful side effects to the eardrums and the senses? Some would say it is possible that they are. So that would be considered torture.
My wife had one used on her in Oakland. It was like a kind of psychological torture. Like it's in your brain and you can't think, you can't move.
I'd rather be tased, shot with a rubber bullet, maced, and then kicked in the balls than have my eardrums erupted.
Like anything else, if it's too loud, like a fire siren or a police siren, you put your hands over your ears.
Right.
By doing that, it cuts 25 dB of sound pressure level instantly. You can still hear it, you can still understand it, but it's not going to hurt your hearing.
Right.
It's just a different thing to have this, magical voice being beamed at you or even bringing you down. Traditional public order policing has its value.
Well, I think you have some people out there, especially during protest situations, who view this as, hey, this is not allowing us to protest or do what we want. We know of one case in regards to the Pittsburgh G20 summit where LRAD was deployed.
By order of the City of Pittsburgh Chief Police, I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly.
And I think that was the first time that a police department had used LRAD in a high-profile event. And what they were interested in is keeping the property damage down and the number of arrests down. That's the bottom line of LRAD. It's the ability to use long-range, powerful, highly intelligible communication to resolve uncertain situations peacefully, to determine intent, and potentially save lives on both sides of the long-range acoustic device.
Guys, that was actually a great demo.
Thank you.
And maybe could I borrow this for a party? Come on. There you have it. In the eyes of law enforcement, LRAD is an effective tool that's used will certainly continue to spread. But in the eyes of others, it's a potential weapon just waiting to be abused. No matter the opinion,
We just don't have the definitive answers yet. We consider these to be incidents because we still are trying to determine the actual cause.
Acoustic Device, LRAD, from American Technology Corp.
A wave of extreme heat that comes from nowhere. It's one of the U.S. military's newest non-lethal weapons, an electromagnetic beam that emits an odorless, invisible, and silent blast of heat.
It felt like opening up an oven door, almost mixed with a sting from about my sternum to my neck. So like you started to really feel it on my neck before I had to kind of instinctually jump out of the way.
This weapon, under development for 15 years, has yet to be used in the field. The technology has attracted safety concerns, though the U.S. military says the rays do not penetrate the skin and pose no health risks.
If an operator is squeezing the trigger and there's a lot going on and he inadvertently keeps squeezing the trigger, there's an automatic shutoff for 3 seconds.
Out of 11,000 exposures on people, only 2 minor injuries have been recorded. The Pentagon has not yet decided whether it will order the active denial system, whose powerful beam can reach up to 1,000 meters.
Picture like an invisible searchlight
right? You know what a searchlight looks like? So an invisible searchlight of radio waves going downrange. So it's this big when it starts, and at the end, it's the same size.
Eventually, the weapon could be put to a wide array of uses, such as thwarting hostile attacks, dispersing mobs, and reinforcing security. For now, it remains just a prototype.
The Pentagon has a heat ray. It's invisible, it's silent, it's real, but it's not deadly. Officially, it's called the Active Denial System. Here's how the military says it works. It shoots an invisible beam of intense electromagnetic waves at human targets that penetrate the skin about 1/64th of an inch deep. The beam creates what the military calls an intolerable heating sensation that makes people instinctively move away from the beam. The heat ray can reach a little more than half a mile away. Its creators say it's harmless and offers troops a non-lethal alternative during threatening confrontations. The active denial system can be used for crowd control, securing a perimeter, and protecting a convoy. This technology has been around for a while, more than a decade, but it's been keeping a low profile. The Marines have used it in training exercises. In 2012, the military said the heat ray was available for operations worldwide, but there were no current plans for deployment. In the future, the heat ray may go portable. The Pentagon wants to develop a smaller, lighter version, easier for troops to carry. Wider use of unconventional ideas like the heat ray may lead to more new weapons that protect troops without hurting civilians.